Hello, everybody, and welcome to our comics review video show. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So every Monday after our shop is done bagging and boarding all the new comics, we divide them up and we read sort of the hottest ones, the one that people want to know the most about. Some of them we read just because they're our favorites.
Yeah.
Some are returning favorites, and we do this show where we try to tell you about these books. We tell you a little bit about what's in them, why they're important, and who might enjoy them.
Mhm.
Just more than you'll get if you read the solicitations. We do it in a spoiler light way, meaning we won't tell you every little thing in them, so you'll still have a good time if you pick them up and read them on your own. So looks like we have a big week this week, which is great because this follows Free Comic Book Day. We had hundreds of people come through our store, a lot of which I'd never seen before. Some of these people, especially some of the younger people, I doubt they ever really had a comic,
Mm-hmm.
and now hopefully they got bit by the same bug that bit me all those years ago, and maybe a few of them are even watching our show today. They can learn about some other new number ones.
Yeah, I'm excited this week because, you get your list of books, I get my list of books. I don't necessarily glance at what your list is. So even up
There's
here,
no time to.
I'm seeing ones, I'm like, oh, I didn't know that came out this week. So I'm interested to see what you thought with the stuff like Captain America and Grimm. Big stuff this week.
Yeah. So these are a few of the books we'll be going over, but we have many off to the side. We're also going to be showing variants and incentive variants. So without further ado, Andy, why don't you start us?
Well, the best way to start is with book I've been very excited about. This is Jurassic League #1. I remember back when this solicited, it was just like, what? Oh my gosh, it's Justice League dinosaurs. But when you see that it is written or co-written by Daniel Warren Johnson, it's like he says he's got an idea, and there's like, do whatever you want. Like, it's gonna be fun, over the top. And this is co-written with Juan Gedian, and he's the one who does the art for this, but it's very reminiscent of a Daniel Warren Johnson style. Very energetic, a lot of action, a lot of movement in the characters. So, I mean, the cover of this explains a lot. As you can see, you've got your Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, but dinosaur-fied. So this has a little bit more in it than that, but this is set kind of in another place, another time, where the familiar story of a spaceship is crashing to Earth, but this is Earth with cave people. And when the pod opens up and this I guess husband and wife cave people, I don't know what their marriage status is in cave times. Um, the pod opens, and in it is not a baby but an egg, and that egg hatches. So we jump, I mean, who knows how long, but quite a while, and there is a character, and he is now called, I believe, Batwalker, and he is the Batman of this universe as he is tracking down, he following a trail of bones that is leading him somewhere, and he's doing his dinosaur Batman detective skills to tell what kind of bones they are, and these bones are too small to be, you know, used for eating. There's not enough on them, so this was done for a ritual purpose. So you follow a detective adventure of this Batman dinosaur, which is really fun. Then we cut and we get some story about this Triceratops Wonder Woman living on her magical island of Triceratops women, and she's having visions of a group of superpowered dinosaurs teaming up. You see a little bit of some characters that don't appear in this issue but may be coming. And then it goes through several of other potential members of this Jurassic League, ending with, I believe his name is Supersaurus, and he is the Superman of this universe, and he is actually protecting the cave people because they're kind of the lower life form. Um, the most of the dinosaurs and the people don't speak the same language, but he does because he was raised by two of them, and so
Okay.
he is sworn to protect them from all manner of beast. But just as there are uh, superhero kind of uh, analogous versions of characters we know as dinosaurs, there is also villains, which I can't wait to see more. There is one that doesn't appear on the cover, but when you see is pretty awesome. Something rises from the ocean that is going to pose a threat, and then at the end there's some pretty surprise ones. So if you're looking for a fun story, this is not in any sort of continuity other than its own, which I really liked. It's a go into it. This is not part of a multiversal crisis of any kind. This is just a fun story with dinosaurs as the Justice League. If that sounds like fun, if you're looking for a fun book full of surprises and what kind of creature is this character going to end up as, I think people will really like this because it is just all out fun. Probably my favorite thing I read this week.
Yeah, when that was announced, I think half of everyone was really like, "What? How?" And then half of everyone was like, "Daniel Warren Johnson doing that? Awesome!"
Yep. So we've got this Juan Gedian variant as well, where you can see a better look at that Batwalker. I believe Batwalker, Batstalker, something like that. But he's the T-Rex, which is really, really cool. I mean, these are just begging for McFarlane to make figure versions of them. Like, give me this whole league.
All right, so the big one, this is probably the biggest book of the week,
Yeah.
at least in terms of orders that comic stores place. Grimm #1, a new comic from Boom Studios. So this is by Stephanie Phillips. She is the writer of this, with art done by Flaviano, who of course has been doing comics for ages, well over a decade. So what is this about? This had a preview and a lot of different comics, and the preview looked cool, but it still left you wondering a lot that I'm about to answer. So one thing I like afterlife-based fiction.
Mm.
I know that sounds strange, but if a movie has to do with the afterlife, whether it's Beetlejuice or something a little bit brainier, I'm there. I've always liked that sort of thing. I'm interested in it. So Grimm has to do with that. So this character, Brian Michael Andrews, has just died, but this likely is not his story. He meets a Reaper named Jessica Harrow. That is the girl you see on the front here. And I feel this is more her story, probably. Hard to say, only one issue in, but that's what I think. So she is one of many different Reapers, but the difference between her and the other Reapers, in fact, difference between her and everybody else in the Land of the Dead, is she can't remember her own death. It's very common. You die, you kind of are able to just kind of know what happened to you. She does not know, which is strange about her. So she's trying to take Brian to the afterlife, who of course has his typical struggles. Along the way, you get to see a lot of different sites. You get to see their version, sort of the river Styx, a bunch of other things once they get to sort of Death's Waiting Hall. All the art is fantastic. I like to see different interpretations by different artists of afterlife things. You get to see a lot of this. But what happens when Jess's scythe goes missing? That is sort of the crux of the plot of the beginning of this. Her scythe goes missing. And so she's going to have to enlist two other Reapers who she's friends with. One is named Eddie, and he's hilarious. His character design and style, he's basically an 80s glam rocker. It seems like in Death, you get to be like the coolest version of you that you think is cool. That's my guess, because I mean, this guy's an 80s glam rocker. Jess looks sort of gothy herself. And then there's another Reaper named Eddie who... I'm sorry, Eddie is the glam rocker. Marcel, who has 1600 style. You know what I mean? This guy's from a long time ago. Because it's not going to all be people who died in the last 40 years. So they're going to help her out. So already you got some new characters. And you learn that they need to find it before her boss, this super creepy woman named Adira, finds out. So they're already on a quest to discover this thing. There is sort of a big surprise at the end that could relate to why Jess doesn't remember her death. But even when you read that part, you'll see I'm kind of speculating. I don't even know what's going to happen, but I think the two are related. The art is excellent. The character design is great. The story is told in a very clear, they want you to know what's going on manner. Because, going in the afterlife, that's enough. They don't need to make it all vague past that. I think they're shooting for a wider audience. I hope they get it. So I liked Grimm #1 quite a bit. I do think it's a good pickup. I think off of the first issue, you'll know if it's for you or not. And I have a feeling we'll have a lot of people subscribing to this at our store.
Would you put this in like a horror category?
It has snippets of horror, but not a ton. I don't think it's leaning heavy into horror, at least in issue one.
Mm-hmm.
The horror would be like that some people's faces can look like skulls or look scary, but not a whole lot of that.
Okay.
This is more of a mystery,
Mm-hmm.
more of a afterlife based
Kind of
mystery.
supernatural without leaning too hard into the horror, something's killing the children type.
Yeah.
Over the top.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah, not a lot of blood or anything like that. You know, the guy who dies in this, he wasn't murdered or anything like that. So, okay, so we got a lot of variants on this. First off, we have the foil variant, so same as the other one, but nice and foil. Then we have the, can you guess the artist? Look at the coloring, the line work is Jenny Frison, doing a great cover for Grimm. And then here's another one, Jay Lee, another awesome cover artist we just don't see enough of. And I really like, he went the other way. You know, the colors are so bright.
Yeah.
So that's Jay Lee. Then it's a lot of the same ones. These are the incentives, but you know, they're going to do Virgin and foil, but here they are. So this is the Jenny Frison 1 in 25 foil variant. That's also Virgin, no trade drafts. For $30, we're selling it to our customers while supplies last. Here's the 1 in 50 Del Mundo variant for $50. So that's a different one. Jess can kind of make her face look like a skull or when she's angry or wants to scare somebody. It even scares her fellow Reapers. Here's the 1 in 75 Jay Lee Virgin variant in black and white. Still looking really good. We're selling to our customers for $100. Then, yes, there's a 1 in 100 of the Frison. We are selling for $200.
Wow.
This book, it's a hot book. A lot of heat on this book. And then lastly, here is the 1 per store Johnson variant. That is $100, and I don't think this image was released
No, I haven't
until
seen that
lately. Yeah, this might be the first time any of you have seen this, even if you've seen the other covers.
Yeah, there's a lot of thought around that. Is this the next Something's Killing the Children, or
that's what it's being touted as?
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, you're going to have to get a lot of issues out before.
Yeah, you got to start building up the characters
and
and the world a little bit. But it sounds like it's set up well where it can do that.
Yeah, strong first issue. If I had to criticize it all, I would say I wish it were a double issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but enough happened in it. Some first issues, I'm like, man, not enough even happened. Mm-hmm. Enough does happen, but I really wish I want a little more before I can really put my ongoing seal of approval.
Okay, so next up is a big one from Marvel. This is Hulk versus Thor: Banner of War Alpha. Make sure part 1. Sorry, forgot the part 1 in there. If there's any wonder that this is the beginning of a story arc. So this is, if you're reading Hulk or Thor, this is where they're both culminating. Of course, they're both written by Donny Cates, so he's got complete control over this. Now, we've seen the kind of intro to this in the previous issue of Hulk, where Hulk has been thrown into this war world, Coliseum type setting, and it comes kind of face to face with Thor there. Now, what's interesting about this is there is not a whole lot of explanation for why they're there and where this place is and all that. This is definitely an alpha issue because it begins with Uatu the Watcher. He's sitting there with his popcorn. You can tell he's in the stands. He's getting ready to watch this big battle, and he is talking to the reader, and he's like, "Oh, let me catch you up on what's been going on." So we get a few pages recapping all of Donny Cates' run on Thor and on Hulk. Just kind of a Cliff Notes version. But there are some interesting things to be reminded of. Also, some kind of notes that certain villains or antagonists for characters may not be completely gone, because the Watcher is kind of all-seeing, so he may know some of stuff that we don't know yet. Now, this is a action-packed issue, as you can imagine. I think most of the story is going to be kind of a slugfest between the two heroes, but it does explain why Thor would be fighting Hulk. So, way back in the beginning of Hulk, we learned that something happened in El Paso where Hulk went on some kind of rampage and killed 17 people, and that's why he kind of went to the stars, is to really hide or run away from the Avengers, who are now going to be hunting him because this event Thor reminds him of that, of like 17 people, that's what you did. And Hulk doesn't necessarily remember doing that. But that does give us kind of a why are they fighting scenario, which I think is really good. It's not just like, when you put the heroes there and you have to kind of formulate something on the spot for why they'd be fighting mind control or something.
They're killing 17 people with 17 families. That's
Yeah.
that's not cool.
So it's a pretty serious accusation that Thor has brought on him. But this then goes into just a whole lot of fighting. Very cool, spreads of getting punched from one planet to another. Some very weird planets we go to. One may even be very reminiscent of Adventure Time. You'll have to read it, and I think everyone will agree when they see it. That's what it looks like. But also, Thor sees firsthand how strong Hulk is. That even with the hammer, trying to lay the hammer on Hulk's back to keep him down is not good enough because this Hulk is pretty unstoppable. And then this culminates in a very interesting way that I did not see coming. That really pits the idea that's been going on of you've got Bruce Banner inside of Hulk's head, along with Betty Ross, and kind of his conscious going on there that he's talking to, and Thor has his father Odin inside his hammer. They both have invisible people that they're talking to, and that kind of is something that is a parallel in these that you'll have to read it and see how they use it because it's really cool. But this is definitely just a kicking off point. Next, it's going to be jumping back and forth between Thor and Hulk for the rest of the thing until I think there's a Omega issue or whatever the bookends they do are. But very fun issue, very action. If you want to see these two titans slug it out, this is a great one for that. We have this awesome Gary Frank cover. It's the A cover. We also have the Ron Lim. It's not a week without a Ron Lim cover. We have the Shaw connecting variant. It's going to be showing them fight through all the different histories. Then we have this one that is the Von Eden variants. So this is the Hulk Smash variant. And then we have, I believe this is called the Von Eden Hammer Crash or Thor Crash variant. So you've got those two mirroring each other. Then we have some incentives. We have this really awesome 1 in 50 Ryan Stegman variant that we are selling for $70 to our customers. And then we have this 1 in 25 Cocolo variant that we are selling for $25. And they definitely play up this kind of video game fighting game style in this with health bars and everything. So really cool.
Okay, so from another book from Marvel this week, I read Captain America, Symbol of Truth, #1. So there are 2 Captain America books running simultaneously. One is following the regular Cap, and the other is following this one, Sam Wilson. So this is his #1. And in this, you get a Joaquin is now officially his Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he kind of was before, but like we haven't seen him in a while. But Joaquin is Falcon in this book. They are working together from the beginning. It's not one where he has to call him up or call him to duty. I mean, he's going to be Falcon throughout this series, it seems. So in this, Misty Knight goes on sort of a date / non-date with Sam Wilson. He's sort of under the impression it's a date. She's under the impression it's not. You know, they're in that sort of world with each other. They're too busy for a relationship, but they kind of want it.
Yeah.
Well, she relays some information to him that there is a train going through the Southwest that looks like it is hauling some super soldier serum. So of course this very much concerns Sam Wilson. So him and Falcon hit the train. They're trying to figure out what's on it. You'll have to read to see, but it is something even worse than that. It appears also, by the end of this issue, it appears that some old Captain America villain may be teaming up with another Wakandan villain Wakandian villain,
Mm-hmm.
and that they plan to overthrow some countries. That's a quote, and also kill Captain America. So it's a setup issue, but there's a lot in it. Particularly, they build on the relationship between Misty Knight and Sam Wilson, and you really get to see what it's like for him to be Cap with Joaquin as
Mm-hmm.
Falcon. So
Probably a character a lot of people haven't read too much of.
yeah, so if it sounds like I didn't have a lot to say, there's plenty. It's just you got to read those parts.
Yeah.
So that is Captain America: Symbol of Truth #1, and we've got some variants here. Here is the KalEl variant. Here is the Scotty Young variant. Here is the Fortnite variant. And lastly, well, actually, I think we have an incentive too. We have this Bustos Stormbreakers variant. They're doing all these, turn it the wrong way, postcard style variants they've been doing a series of over at Marvel that are pretty cool. And then there's a 1 in 25 Clark variant that we're selling to our customers for $25.
And we've not got the Steve Rogers book yet, have we? We've gotten the Zero and now Sam's book, and we're waiting on Steve's book, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes my brain has comic burnout. I wonder why.
Yeah. Well, I think there's ads in some of the Marvel issues this week for that book where he gets the new shield and all of that.
You're right,
so.
yeah, because I was like, the issue 0, wait, no, that was both of them.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You are correct.
Cool. Okay, next up we have not 1 billion, not 5 billion, but 8 billion Genies. So this is from Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. And this is it's the team that brought you Curse Words. If you've read that one, we've got a variant that is an homage to that. We have this new, kind of a great, what do you call it? Just kind of a mind exercise type thing. What if, it's 8 billion because everyone in the world got a genie?
All at once.
All at once. So, this sets up with our main character. Kind of, I'm guessing he's going to be our main character. This is a lot of setup. Of course, an idea like this would take setup. But his name's Robbie. He's a member of a band. They're just a local band playing at bars and stuff. He likes a girl that's in the band. He's going to ask her out. She didn't know he thought of her like that. The owner of the bar is seems like a pretty cool guy. He's pretty street smart and everything. So we just kind of get a day in the life type thing. But when all of a sudden, everywhere, but we're kind of seeing it in this bar, little genies that look like this guy on the cover pop up. And what I didn't notice, because I saw a preview of this before, the genies reflect what the people look like. So they'll have little scraggly beards or whatever. They'll wear glasses, and they look like their human counterpart.
That's like people and their pets or their dogs often, that whole thing.
So the genies pop up. We don't really know why. We don't know why these genies all of a sudden.
No catalyst is shown.
No, there's a scene, and I can't tell if it's the catalyst or it's just a scene of people getting genies. I don't know. It's weird. It may explain it later. But all of a sudden, everyone gets a genie, and they kind of repeat this phrase that kind of sets up the wishes. You get one wish. They say you get one wish, not 3. Go ahead and put that to rest. And you can wish for anything, and be careful how you say it because your intention will be kind of taken into account with the wish.
And no wishing for more wishes, I'm sure.
I'm sure that, yeah. I think they might say that in there, but I think that's a given in this scenario. You got one wish. So, it's funny. It starts with, it kind of jumps through every few pages a timeline, but the timeline is 8 seconds later, 8 minutes later, and it shows the world's population and a picture of the world, which after 8 minutes does not look the same, which is very interesting. But, I read a preview of this. I guess I didn't read it deeply enough because there's, when I read it, I was like, how are you going to solve this? Because you've got one person who wishes to be the most powerful person ever, And then you have someone else that says that right after them. Well, now they trump them. They're higher up. So, but that bar owner makes his wish. He might be one of the first people to make a wish, and I feel like that's going to play a big part in all of this. So you have to read to see what he wishes for. What is the thing that may actually be a solution to all of this?
I am properly tantalized. I want to read this one.
Yeah. So this is so much fun. You can tell they just went all out with these ideas. 8 minutes later, they look out the door and the world is completely different. There is castles. There's flying superheroes. There's a guy going by in a giant truck with the bed of it full of gold, like doubloons. Anything you can imagine, because it's not just adults that get wishes, it's kids too. And you get people who are going to save their wish. You get people who may act a little too, whatever, brash with their wishes and just spit them out all at once and is really bad. You get a lot of fun scenes of what people wish for. But I'm very excited to see where this series goes. I've previewed a couple of the upcoming pages, and it only gets crazier as it goes on. But I think the core characters in this are going to really keep it grounded and be very interesting.
Is this ongoing?
I believe it's a mini series.
I thought it was.
I think it's maybe 5 or 6 issues. It would be very hard to keep this going on a long time. Either people would use up all their wishes, or it'd become unintelligible from everything people have wished for. So, highly recommend this one if you want a really fun story, but also like a brain exercise. You read this and you immediately start thinking, what would I wish for? And you think of all the stipulations. Well, I can't do that because this would happen, and all this stuff that's very fun to think about, and they explore it all. So, this is our A cover. We have which this is such an odd one, but it's really cool. This is our Jenny Frizen variant. Very lovely cover, and you see this girl's genie down there that kind of looks like her. We have of course, blank sketch variant. Anything you can wish for could be on the cover. Then we have the Declan Shalvey variant.
Genies they're all dancing together.
They're all dancing.
It's like a flash mob.
Okay, then someone's going to have to explain this one. So this is the 1 in 10 Devoff variant. And it says this is the famous Genies variant edition. So, if you know who this is and what Genie movie...
I do know.
Is it Wishmaster?
It's Wishmaster.
Okay, that's what I was like, what's the movie about, Genies?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a Wishmaster.
Those movies are messed up.
Yeah. So, we are selling this to our customers for $10. What other Genies? I don't think they can put the Aladdin Genie on a cover. I think that might be copyright too hard.
You can do homage. You can do a nod towards it.
And then we have this 1 in 25... brown variant that we're selling for $25 that has our character from Curse Words, the wizard from Curse Words, on it. And he got his little genie too. So, really fun. Highly recommend this one. Another really fun read this week.
Okay, so Milestone Comics continues to expand with Blood Syndicate Season 1, Issue Number 1, releasing tomorrow. So there we have our main characters on the cover. And I'll tell you what's going on in this. First off, you've got the writer Jeffrey Thorne is writing this, but the original artist for Blood Syndicate from back in the day, Chris Cross, is back doing the art. Yeah, I think that's awesome. They're bringing back, not just some of the creators, but also some of the artists who originally worked on Milestone Comics. So, Rolando and Hannibal have just gotten back from their military tour in the Persian Gulf. And a lot has changed in Dakota City because, of course, they had the event. That's the thing that happened where people started getting superpowers. Mm-hmm. And so beyond the fact that this event happens, there's also superpowered people now in their neighborhood. So they're trying to acclimate to this. They're hearing stories about Icon and Rocket. Mm-hmm. And there's also, of course, new bad people who have powers. In particular, you see him in the background, bigger than the characters right here. That is Holocaust. He is a new crime boss with some major powers. So what happens when Holocaust comes rolling up to them and with his people, and he wants them to bow down. He wants them to recognize he is in control of their neighborhood. Well, they're not just gonna, lie down. These are soldiers. They've seen war. They've seen some bad stuff. It might not be superhero stuff, but there may be other secrets going on. And it could be maybe some of their friends they left behind might have gotten powers that they don't know about, that maybe you can find out about by the end of the issue. So this is sort of a getting to know everybody. It's written in that way where they try to write it the way the characters speak. So a lot of like improper grammar. But I don't know. I find some people really don't like that and some do. I think it depends on if the writer pulls it off.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was done very well in this. But this is just kind of setting up your character. Who are they? How long they've been away? What's happened since they've been gone? And what is the new threat? And how will these soldiers and their friends deal with it? So that's what's going on in Blood Syndicate Season 1, Issue number 1. We got a few variants for this. We have the Quintana variant. And we have the Draper Ivy variant.
Next up, I have issue 11 of Superman, Son of Kal-El. So I was very interested in the way the previous issue left off with Batman confronting Jonathan and saying, you cannot trust I don't know if he's his boyfriend yet. I don't know if they made it official, but I think they have. You cannot trust him. And Batman being like, you got to come with me. I got to explain some stuff. Whenever Batman steps in, it's like, hold up. You're going down the wrong path. Something's about to go down. So this one is really cool because Batman, of course, has been doing his research as well, and tells Jonathan a little bit more about Jay than he previously knew. Batman, I don't want to say accuses him because he knows. Batman doesn't accuse. He has his facts, but he knows that the truth is not the only thing Jay is working with. So Batman is going to basically stop Jay, and Jonathan says, no, I'm just going to talk to him about it. So I thought that was really cool, but the key part I thought was really cool in this is Pa Kent, after their home got destroyed in a previous issue, was on the cover and everything, has been moved to this safe house where Batman took Jonathan to talk to him. And you have a conversation between Batman and Pa Kent, which I don't know if I've ever, more than just passing knowledge, but it turns out that Pa Kent and Alfred talked on the phone weekly about their kids. And this is a great scene. Just like in the previous issue, I loved the Lois Lane parts. In this, I think the most interesting part is this discussion between Batman and Pa Kent about Batman not knowing that they knew each other and how well they knew each other, what they talked about and everything. I thought that was super cool. But as for Jay, it's still, you'll have to read it. Jonathan confronts him about it, and it is he doesn't deny the things. I'll say that. So very interesting issue. I'll be interested to see what comes of this. And it talks about in the next issue, Crypto's back. So I think that'll be a lot of fun too. So that is Superman, Son of Kal-El, number 11. And then we have this is the Brian Ching variant.
All right, so I read Transformers Last Spot Standing, issue number 1. So this is sort of the Transformers take on what TMNT Last Ronin sort of did. It's supposed to be about the last of the, I don't want to say Autobot Decepticon, that reveals too much.
Yeah.
You'll have to read to figure out who it is. So
Cybertron.
The last Transformer. Who is the last Transformer? So this is a 4-issue miniseries. It is regular size. I just want to make sure people know it is not like Last Ronin size. So just 4 issues, and this is going to be the last Transformer series that IDW does. They no longer have the license after this. So final IDW Transformer series, pretty fitting one for them.
It's
to
a very
do.
interesting one to go out on. Yeah.
Yeah. So in this issue, you will learn who the last spot standing is. Okay, you will learn it. The name is said. Some of you maybe have already guessed it. In fact, we had some guesses, and pretty much our main guess was right. Based on, there's a lot of cover art out there.
Yeah.
And if you look hard enough, you can kind of tell, even though there are some changes in the character. So this is set in a world called Danacht, where the people look humanoid, but they have pointy ears. And it's sort of a Wild West world, but they still have engines, and some of the stuff they have is futuristic, but your average person is not that way. Your average person, it's more like just Wild West themed. So they do things like covered wagon racing in this world. That'd be an example of what they do. Well, something falls from the sky, and what that thing is ends up being the catalyst to reveal some secrets, perhaps of something that's been under their nose all along. That's about all I could say without revealing too much. This issue's a lot of learning who the humanoid characters are, who your main one is, what they're doing. But really, to me, it got interesting once the last bot came about, which, I mean, you have some narration there early on, but really about halfway through that takes place, and by the end you get to see who they are. But it just leads to more questions, I'll tell you that. And also, are they really the last bot? From my reading, it doesn't look like maybe they are. So check it out yourself. But I'd be remiss to not at least mention that it doesn't really seem like they are the last bot to me. So, all right, we got some variant covers. We have the Milne variant cover. And then we have this 1 in 10 Sue variant for $25.
Okay, next up we have our Star Wars entry for the week. This is Star Wars Halcyon Legacy number 3. So, of course, this is kind of one of those, it's got the bookend stories about the Halcyon getting taken over by a pirate, but a droid there is kind of comforting a young girl by telling her stories of, we've run into stuff like this before. This one, if you can't tell, is now set in around episode 3 timeline. Anakin has the longer hair. It's Clone Wars era, at least. And it is, the story that she tells is about Anakin and Padme are going on a undercover mission onto the Halcyon that is currently under the ownership of the Hutts. So it's not quite as nice. It's a little more sleazy, a little more dark casino-like. But Anakin and Padme are also going to kind of use this as a couple's getaway. Since they'll be out of the public eye, they can kind of reveal that they're hanging out together because, the Republic's not watching or anything.
That's nice they get to do that for the short romance that they have.
Yes. But, of course, that doesn't last because someone else is also on the ship. It's not a spoiler to say it's Asajj Ventress because she's on one of the variant covers. But it throws this whole thing into a lot of lightsaber fights and flips. So this has been a fun series so far. I'm excited to see kind of how far it goes and what all it covers and everything. But this was a great entry for it. I thought it was a lot of fun. Halcyon Legacy number 3. And we have the Slimy Connecting variant. And then we have the Woo variant with Ventress. Very cool.
Okay, so I read Moon Knight, Black, White, and Blood number 1. Of course, they've done a bunch of these Black, White, and Bloods now. They are anthology style. The art in it, as the cover proclaims, is in black, white, and blood red. So the cover, I'll tell you, it would be cool for them to make a figure out of
That
this.
looks like a statue.
Doesn't it? Yeah, like a
Yeah.
statue. I mean, just they'd have to weight it just right to not fall over.
Looks like a
But
change cup. You could, if that went all the way around, you just drop your change and they're on an end
yeah,
table.
they should really do something with this design. I think it's very neat. So this has the first three stories that you'll get in this series. This is always a mini series. I think there are 4 issues. They tend to be. And so the first story is by Jonathan Hickman, and it's the Hickman Bacalo story. And it tells the tale of a spaceship traveling last living priest of Khonshu. So this is a Moon Knight set 6,000 years into the future. The art style is really manga inspired, sort of that old style space manga stuff. And in it, this last living priest of Khonshu, Moon Knight, is searching for Ra in space, and he has a kid that he's kind of with, who's helping him. This kid has like a way of finding Ra. So really interesting story. It felt like you were getting a piece of a bigger tale, really. And you'll see some of that on a variant I'm about to show. So the second story is by Ayodele and Akande. And they tell a story where Spider-Man is asking Moon Knight for a mysterious favor. Like, you don't know the favor. You just know Spider-Man's like, come on, let me. And Moon Knight's like, I have all this stuff to do. And Spider-Man's like, well, how about I help you? I have spider strength and speed. So Moon Knight begrudgingly lets him help. And so it's a lot of action. And it all leads up to the end where you find out what Spider-Man wanted, which is pretty funny. And Deadpool even makes a little appearance in there too, just to pound in the humor. So the third story is by Guggenheim and Forns, and it is Moon Knight taking on a case and going up against a villain called Red Blade. That is all one word. So I'm always trying to sniff out, is a character new or not? I have a good memory for things, but I mean, there are thousands of characters in the Marvel, DC, and indie universes. And so I look up Red Blade, all one word, and there's only been one before in Marvel, and it was in Marvel Fanfare, and it was an Apache chief and medicine man. So this is not him. This person has a sword. It's like an assassin. So I guess first appearance of Red Blade.
Red Blade 2.
But I suspect that this character is just for this story. I don't think you have to run out just to grab that. And the last thing about that story is it's told in reverse. So I read it and I'm like, this is a little weird. It kind of works, but it's a little jumbled. And then you get to the end and you're like, oh, I see. It's one of these, you can kind of read it both ways, but it definitely reads better in reverse. So pretty interesting. These writers and artists are having a good time doing these anthology tales. So strong issue of Moon Knight Black, White, and Blood #1. And we got, as far as the variants, here is the Bocello variant from his and Hickman's story. So there you see that, you can kind of see him. That's the Moon Knight of the future with the kid.
So I guess that's first appearance of that Moon Knight?
Yes,
whether they do anything with him.
It is the first appearance of this Moon Knight 6,000 years in the future, who also has a red balloon. And
does he have that in the story?
Yes. Yes, he does.
Huh.
It's something for the kid.
Okay.
And here is the 1 in 25 Stan Sakai variant. We're selling for $25. I'm surprised Sakai doesn't have a story in this. I'm betting he will in one of the next ones because, he did one in the Elektra, Black, White, and Blood. And then here's the 1 in 50 DeKal variant. We're selling for $60.
That one's really cool. Okay, next up I have a very interesting one because Blaze Comics has not the rights to Conan, but they've been doing a book called Cimmerian, and it's basically retelling classic Conan stories. They just can't use Conan on the title, but most of them have been pretty adaptations of short stories, Robert E. Howard short stories. But they have a new one, and this is called Belit and Valeria. Does it have a subtitle? Swords versus Sorcery. This is set in the Conan universe with these two classic Conan characters. This is written by Max Bemis, who you may see his name come up recently. because a lot of the Moon Knight TV show took from his some of his Moon Knight stories. He was also the lead singer of Say Anything. Very interesting guy. And the idea behind even the Sumerian and all of that is these are Conan stories, but probably ones Marvel would not publish because these are way more mature, way more adult, and this is no different. I'd say this is right up there with the most adult of the ones that they have done. But it's fun to read an original story about these Conan secondary characters. Usually Conan stories, he's the one plowing through, and people come in and leave, but he just keeps going. These are kind of key people from Conan's life, but no Conan. So really cool if you want to read a story about tough characters teaming up. You've got the Queen of the Black Coast and Valeria, who is a very powerful swordswoman. She is the prisoner of Belit, but something happens and they have to team up. There's giant serpents in this. There's pirates, just a whole bunch of stuff. Mermaids, very fun, very action packed, very pirate filthy language. But if you sounds good for you, if you're a big Conan fan, you will like this one. There's also some variants for it. We have the Vatine variant. We have the Lyrics variant. And this one, people should be able to tell what this is. This is the Buscemi variant, based off of a very famous comic.
Oh yeah, Joker and Harley dancing.
Yep. So I think that one's going to be a popular one. But very fun story, not for kids.
All right, so that's all characters from the Conan universe. So playing right off of that, I'm going to talk about Frank Frazetta, Death Dealer #1. So this is an ongoing series, and it's going to be the first of what they're calling the Frazetta verse. So they're launching a series of different comics that are based off of the art and character designs by Frank Frazetta. Now, of course, this Death Dealer has already had a comic.
Yeah.
Way back in the day, Glenn Danzig's company, Verotics, did a Death Dealer comic. So don't confuse it. This is not a continuation of that. This is
not a reprint.
Its own thing. It is definitely not a reprint. This is wholly original, and I'm going to tell you what it's about. So there's a character in the... Well, actually, let me talk about what this is rated. This is definitely an R-rated comic, okay? There is a lot of violence. There's a lot of horror. There is nudity as well. So
just like
definitely,
Frazetta's art a lot of the time.
And what you'd see in Verotics probably as well. But anyhow, so the Death Dealer is our main character, but his name, somebody asked his name and he says it is Kur, K-U-R. Now, I don't know if that's literal or if he is just sort of self-deprecating, because he is cursed, okay? That's his deal. His helmet seems to be part of the curse. He can never remove it. And as tough as he is, and as strong as he is, and good as he is at wielding his axe, sometimes he comes up against too many enemies or enemies that are too tough. And the curse, which he hears in his head, is like, use my power, use it. And he doesn't want to, because every time he does, although he can kill his enemies, he loses a little more of his soul. So he is in a dark place. He does not enjoy his life. He doesn't like killing. He is 100% some guy who is very badly cursed. And he's not that bad of a guy. In fact, he ends up running into this pantsless barbarian woman. And by that I mean all she has, like, her legs are bare, even though they're out in the snow. She has fur boots, fur top, but just like bare legs. And she's with a baby, and he decides to help them. So he helps them out, but guess what? As soon as he helps them out and they start to learn about him and he starts caring about them, it looks like she's going to be taken away and used against him, because he is being pursued. And it's hard to tell if he knows he's being pursued, but he is being pursued by an even scarier individual who is sort of unnamed in this so far. This individual, though, just to show you how grim this is, he has a partly vivisected face. So picture somebody's face if you cut a wedge out of it and he's talking and both sides are
Gosh.
moving. He's so scary that when he runs on other characters, their faces melt off. So it's all
That's
about
so metal.
the face horror. Yeah, it really is. It really is. So if all that sounds awesome, you're going to love it. If it doesn't sound awesome, you know, it's
Keep
not
walking.
for you. Yeah, go check out superhero stuff or whatever. So, I mean, they're definitely leaning into the R-rated in this, but it does seem to be having a story. And the Death Dealer, he really isn't much of an anti-hero. He's really a very tortured soul. And I think that's an interesting take on him.
I love Frazetta's work, so I'll be interested to see what paintings and stuff they choose to be characters and what stories they build around some of these characters.
Yeah, you know, and I used to be more familiar with that stuff like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, I had art prints and stuff. So I don't remember if anyone else I saw in this was from any of that. I've seen way too many characters between now
Yeah.
and then. So maybe some of you reading it will recognize the barbarian woman or maybe the vivisected face guy
Yeah.
or something.
But everybody knows Death Dealer. He is.
Oh, yeah.
He is the icon for
Yes.
Frazetta's
So
work.
speaking of which, the main variant for this is the Frazetta.
With just a giant horse.
Yep. And then we have, there's a sketch variant that's blank, but it's actually a 1 in 5. So we're selling this for $10 to our customers. And then we have the 1 in 10 Pinosian variant
It's a very cool variant.
for $15. And lastly, there's a 1 in 15 Delato variant we're selling to our customers for $35.
Got some big names on there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they put some talent on it. It's not just thrown out there.
Yeah, very cool idea. Okay, next up we have. Let me make sure I grab the right one. Yes, Sandman Universe Nightmare Country, number 2. So this is of course set in the Sandman universe, following the Corinthian, the man with little snapping teeth for eyes.
It's James Tynion writing
Yes,
this too.
James
so,
Tynion
yeah.
writing this, which you can tell this feels like a very cross section of Sandman story and something that would come right out of like Something is Killing the Children or like a Boom title he would do. So our main character in this is Flynn. She's an artist. She's been having dreams about this thing called the Smiling Man, and the Corinthian has come to her to kind of find out more, asking, "Have you had dreams about me?" All of this stuff. But in this universe, dreams are a very powerful thing, and this is where we get definitely into the Sandman side of this, because in the dreaming, the land of Sandman, basically, there is a library, and that library is of all the books that were never written.
Yeah.
Which I think Tiny does a great job of kind of explaining this a little bit further. Of, you know, he talks about you're standing in the shower and you have an idea for a book, and but you forget about it later. But that it's here, and some of the books they don't even have words. They're emotions and feelings, kind of early versions of an idea. And because there has been so many dreams about the Smiling Man, the Corinthian is going to go there and check out the library and find the stories of dreams of this character. It's a very cool issue. I could take an entire book set within this library. I know it's a little Books of Magic and some of the other Sandman universe stuff, but this jumps between artists. This also features Sorrentino, a frequent collaborator with Jeff Lemire. He does some of the library stuff. Very, very cool. But in the main normal world, Flynn is still, even though she doesn't know it at first, is being pursued by these two very horrific characters that you'll have to read to see what they're after. But everything in this is scary. But there is I don't want to say a light side, but there's some pretty fun conversations that Flynn has with the Corinthian about his eyes, and she's like, "Can you see out of those?" He's like, "Yes, they're eyes. Eyes can see." She's like, "Yeah, but they're also like mouths." and stuff. There's some fun dialogue in here as well. But if you like those dark stories, if you're a fan of Sandman and all of those characters in that universe and that very dreamlike world and storytelling, you will like this one. The second issue I really enjoyed. So that is Nightmare Country #2, and we have Sorrentino doing the variant with crazy mouth eyes and a regular mouth. Very creepy.
Okay, so from Marvel, I read What If Miles Morales issue 3. So Miles we've already seen the story of what if he had the super soldier serum and became Captain America. We saw the story of what if he was in the Weapon X program and was Wolverine. In this one, he, as the cover shows, what if he became the Hulk? So, it's not just about what if he became the Hulk. It's, of course, the origin of how does it happen. That's what all these stories have been. How did it happen? And, of course, this is told actually partially through Miles' own voice talking with Doc Samson, who is his psychiatrist, after the events that he's talking about. So he's talking to his psychiatrist on how this happened. And it involves his Uncle Aaron, who is always a big part of his life in these stories.
Yeah.
He's almost always the catalyst in some way. Uncle Aaron, of course, is secretly the Prowler. And in this, he's working for the Russian mob, who has been spying on Professor Bruce Banner because he's come up with nuclear things that has scared the Russians. And so they want the Prowler to steal something from him. He does, but guess what? The gamma radiation of it gets close to Miles. You'll have to see how that happens, and that's kind of the catalyst of what sends him that way. Still, you get to see how Miles hides his new powers. It's not like people find this out right away. He doesn't want them to. So a lot of the story is how he tries to hide it, what brings it out, which of his friends know about it. How does that affect him at school and other places? You also get to see how stepping on a Lego can definitely make somebody Hulk out.
That's actually true.
I know that's true too. Anyone who stepped on a Lego, if you felt like you were going to Hulk out, you'll get some satisfaction in this issue. So, as far as variants, all we have left is the 1 in 10 Medina design variant. I think there was an open order variant, but I think we didn't have enough of them. I think they just went in the pull boxes. So we're selling this one for $20.
It's a very sleek, cool Hulk.
And
a little more svelte.
Yeah, the next issue is going to be what if Miles Morales was Thor? What if he was worthy and got the hammer?
Okay, next up is one I'll just briefly talk about. I didn't get a chance to read it too in depth, but this is King Conan #4. And you get a face-off between Conan and his son, which very interesting. Who is going to take the mantle in the end? You have to see. I think this may have one more issue in it, but pretty cool story from what I could see. We also have a Shalvey variant. Declan Shalvey's getting a lot of work doing these covers.
Okay, so I read Nocterra issue 10. This is a comic series that is still going very strong. I enjoy reading every issue of it. 10 issues in, and it's awesome. This world feels very big and only getting bigger. So we have the Sundog Convoy. That is our main good guy team. And lately, they have teamed up with Blacktop Bill. I mean, he is technically their prisoner, but he's helped them out. And he had a chance to get away last issue and stuck around. And they've expanded this villain story to where people in the Sundog Convoy, some of them kind of want him to be an official member, but most do not. So that gets addressed in this. However, for the now, the team up between Val and Blacktop continues as they reach Luna. This is the place that has tons of light, and it's where they create the things that are Blacktop. But they're going there. This is not a nice place. They're going there because they need coordinates to EOS, which is a place of all light, and it might be where if they can get Piper there, who has information, they might be able to fix the world. but they're not going to want to give them this information. So the team up has to continue. So this issue, tons going on. I could just keep talking about it, but I mean, you're either reading this or you're not at issue 10. It is action-packed, good dialogue, good fighting, awesome art as usual. So another great issue of Nocterra. And you know, if you found some open spots in your reading time, you know, go back and get the first trade. You can still catch up. These have been collected. It's good stories, good art, just really cool, and it's option too. So I think one day we may see this. So we got some variants. We've got the Tony Daniel variant, who of course does the interior art, and then we have the Scalera variant.
Okay, next up is one that sadly I can only just mention because I've not got a chance to read it, but I love the first issue. This is West of Sundown number 2. Issue number 1 was awesome, about a vampire that has to go back to her home soil and travel across the West in a coffin with kind of one of her vampire slaves driving it along. And the horrific things they run into along the way, because vampires aren't the only thing that haunts the West. And from what I could see in this, there's quite a bit more of it. Maybe even some skinwalkers or some werewolves, zombies, just crazy other horrific monstrous stuff is in this. If you didn't read the first one, go check it out if your store still has it, because I really enjoyed it. Very excited to read number 2. We also have some variants for it. We have the Terry variant with our main vampire there. And then we have our Tim Seeley variant. And we have our 1 in 10 Patridge variant that we're selling to our customers for $15.
All right, so I read Shang-Chi number 12. This is the last issue of this series before they restart it and rename it Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings. So in last issue, as I mentioned, he got the 10 rings. A lot of places reported he wasn't get them till this issue, but he got them at the end of last issue. Now, the main villain is Xin. That's Xin. That's his grandfather. You know, because Shang-Chi's father isn't evil enough. He has to have a grandfather who's even eviler. And this grandfather is almost impossible to attack or fight. The rings are some of the only way he can fight him. The rings are from the Jade Emperor, who is just this mystic figure, super powerful. And you're not supposed to have his rings. You know, Shang-Chi kind of has to take them to be able to have any chance at all. Well, in this issue, the Jade Emperor finds out, and he tells Shang-Chi, okay, well, go defeat Xin, bring the rings back, and then I will determine your fate. So considering everybody knows the next series is starting and it's called Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, I think we can guess what happens. So that's not a spoiler, but that's just how it is.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of nuance to it, because I'll tell you, by the end of this issue, a lot of the other cast of this, a lot of his brothers and sisters, things happen to them to disperse them, where by the end of this, Shang-Chi is actually by himself for the first time in a while. He's been gaining a lot of people around him this whole thing, and he kind of ends up all by himself by the end. So not a bad ending, because I suspect they told the writer, hey, you got to shift some things. I think he did it pretty fluidly. I really enjoyed the entire series, and a lot of what gets wrapped up also has to do with how the other Avengers feel about Shang-Chi, because if you remember where this series started, he was taking over the family business, trying to make them good, but you know, Captain America, Iron Man, everybody kept running afoul with him, thinking he was evil. That gets resolved by the end of this too. And so we got 2 variants for it. Here is the Ruin variant, and here is the Mooney variant for the last issue of Shang-Chi. But as I said, let your store know if you want to be on the next one.
Yeah.
Because a lot of their systems, like our system, it doesn't have a way to put you on the next one. We physically have to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's just good to get that confirmation.
Yeah, because essentially it was supposed to continue.
It was
They just
supposed
wanted to retire.
They wanted to give him the 10 rings for, we're not even going to go into all the
Yeah.
reasons.
Okay, next up, this is a really cool issue. This is X-Men number 11. And this was kind of set up in the previous issue, but the X-Men, or at least a few of them, are going to Game World. This is a kind of your classic space casino world. Very cool, but they're going there, and it's Jean, it's Rogue, it is, let's see, Polaris, and it's Wolverine, the Laura Kinney Wolverine. And they are going there because in this casino, they are betting on the likelihood of the Earth's survival. And so they are worried that maybe some people are going to try to shift around things and set it up so the house always wins. And they're trying to kind of stop it before it even gets to that point. So it's really cool. You've got them checking out this world. They kind of split up and go their different directions. Polaris goes to a store where they've got kind of all these space clothes. It's really cool. Wolverine, she goes hunting some people that are on that planet. It's just really fun to see this. It's definitely I don't want to say a setup issue, but we're just getting into it because it starts out actually with Mojo having something to do with this as well. Of course, Mojo's going to have some hand in any televised game show type thing. That's really cool. But on the other end, you have Scott Summers, not Cyclops, because he is now Captain Krakoa, and what's the other? Sync, the mutant that can take on other people's powers.
Right.
They are hunting down Dr. Stasis, who's been kind of the villain through this entire thing. We don't know a whole lot about him. We just know kind of what he does. But I mean, it took many issues to even see what his helmeted face looks like. But I will say, in this issue, you will see behind the helmet, and it may be a familiar face. I'll say that. So, really fun issue of X-Men, especially just with this Game World stuff. Really cool. Everyone's in really cool outfits. It's a little bit like the Hellfire Gala. Everybody's got these fancy outfits on and stuff, but really fun issue. We also have some variants. We have the Garen Skrull variant, Rogue and Gambit, and we have the postcard variant for Madripoor with Wolverine.
Okay, so I read crossover issue number 13. And so this is I suspect this is the end of the sort of current storyline. Even though the story is going to continue, it's just sort of like you feel like a little bit of a period happened here.
End of another volume or something.
Yes, yeah. So, as of last issue, Negan is here. All right, he was the big drop in the last issue. And Donny Cates, the character, not the writer who's writing this, takes the center stage as the meta just keeps on coming. Like, if you like your comics meta, but doing it to explore storytelling, and characters, then this is for you. Because a lot of what's driving the plot is that. It is definitely not like just action, good versus evil. I mean, this is what are stories, what are characters, why are we having these crossovers, why are cameos happening. And so Donny Cates, the character in it, takes center stage. And I guess I think at this point everybody reading crossover knows if it's for them or not. I think everybody, at least half of everyone signed up was like, oh, I want to see Spawn drop by and Savage Dragon drop by. That's not happening a ton. Negan showing up, that's awesome. In this issue, you get to see Lucille go up against Valifax. Baseball bat versus sword from God Country. That is cool.
Yeah.
But that's not what this is about.
It's not the driving force behind this series.
It's not stuff that happens often enough. You have to have fallen into like the sort of meta that Cates is setting up here. So I will say by the end of this issue, there are some major deaths, and there's also the discovery of a new source for where all this story is coming from. And I think when you read the last page and you see, you'll know what this next arc is going to be about to some degree. So that is crossover issue number 13. We have the Jonathan Hickman design variant, as in there's a design on it.
Yeah.
It's not a character design variant.
That's what Jonathan Hickman looks like in the book. He's just 3 dots.
There is the Virgin version of that. It's a 1 in 25 that we are selling for $25.
It's like a street light that only says stop.
It hypnotizes you. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to do a kind of a 2-for-1. We have Spawn. This is Spawn issue, make sure I got it right, 329. It's not often you, speaking of comics in the 300s for new stuff. Spawn 329. And we have Scorched, number 5. So, about Spawn, this is a really cool issue where kind of the idea of what the Redeemers are. They're the anti-Spawns. We get more exploration of them throughout time, the different versions they've taken on, and what their current job is in the Spawn universe. Plus, you got that super cool cover. And you have this really nice Keen variant. The Redeemer on there. And they are doing sketch variants for these right now. And then in Scorched, more really cool team up of all the different Spawn-like characters working together. But there's also some more variations of Spawn that appear that are really, really cool. But a big thing about this issue is we have another addition to our McFarlane X-Men homage. So this one we got Cygor, we got Redeemer, we've got Haunt. We have that other Redeemer that's in the white suit. Very cool, and we just, I think it was on our last FOC for the first one. That's like the Magneto spot from the X-Men cover, so that is super cool. And we have a blank sketch variant for that one as well.
Okay, so I read Wonder Woman number 787. This is after the tournament is over, after Doom's Doorway has opened and the evil behind it's been vanquished, after Themyscira has been pretty much destroyed, largely destroyed. But the first thing I want to say is there is a first appearance in this. There's a new sort of villain team, and they're all very deep dive characters. I mean, like back in Wonder Woman's from ages ago. However, there's one new character. Her name is Sweetheart, and she looks like Wonder Woman. So that's always interesting when you have a character who looks like your main character. She looks like Wonder Woman if Wonder Woman had like a crack in her face.
Okay.
Yeah, and her name is Sweetheart. I'll get back to her later. But the first thing I'm going to say is this cover does not happen at all. I wonder if they didn't change their mind about something that was going to happen, because Wonder Woman does go in the water. She attacks somebody in a submarine, but there are no multiple hands, no like undead hands. There's one person in a submarine. So I don't really understand why they...
Does the one person in the submarine have multiple hands?
No, he doesn't.
Oh.
No, he doesn't. So Wonder Woman does fight somebody on a submarine. You'll have to read to find out why. But what I would like to talk about is, so there's a new evil team rising. The leader is this guy called Dr. Cisco, and he has powers of hypnosis. Once again, if you look him up, he is an older Wonder Woman villain. Wasn't in many things. I think maybe like 2 issues, ages back. Well, he's pulled together this new team of Dr. Poison, who, you know, if you haven't heard of him, I'm not surprised, but he is a character. Professor Calculus, who is also a character. And then the one I talked about earlier, Sweetheart. Sweetheart I could find nothing about. I'm pretty sure she is a first appearance. So they're going to be the new bad guys in the upcoming Wonder Woman stuff. You'll have to read this issue to find out exactly why.
Sad Dr. Calculus is not with his friend Professor Algebra. And
It sounded to me like, I mean, you'll have to read it for yourself to see, but it sounded like he uses his math knowledge to like manipulate the market to make
Oh.
lots of money to fund them. So here is the John Boy Myers variant for Wonder Woman issue 787.
Okay, and next up I have, just going to show off, this is Saturday Morning Adventures G.I. Joe Real American Hero number 3. This is actually the B cover, because I think we have given the A cover to everyone. But this is just a super fun series if you haven't read it. I didn't get to read the whole thing, but I did skim to the end to read the More You Know segment, the knowing is half the battle. And just like always, it's so much fun. This is done so well. And it has I believe this is the 1 in 10 Midnight variant that we're selling for $45.
A lot going on there.
Yes.
Is that Duke wailing on a guitar?
Yeah, it is.
An American guitar? Awesome.
Yeah, it looks like you got Shipwreck on drums. I can't tell who everyone is in this. You got Scarlet on keyboard.
That's cool.
You have Shipwreck's parrot. I don't remember what this parrot's name is, but with maracas. So, really cool cover.
That's awesome. Okay, the last one I'm going over, which I did not actually get a chance to read, I just want to bring it up, is Bunny Mask, The Hollow Inside, number 1. This is the second story series from Bunny Mask. That is beginning right now from Aftershock. If you came out for Free Comic Day, there was a Free Comic Book Day Bunny Mask that was given out as well. So they're continuing this horror story. Just want everyone to know it is starting and show off these variants. There is a mask variant, although you'd have to have a very small head for this to work. And there is a 1 in 15 Albuquerque variant that we are selling to our customers for $25.
And my last one to show off is the next issue of Red Room Trigger Warnings, number 3.
We're saving the horror for the end.
I know, I skimmed through it. It's just as horrific as you can imagine, but people like to know when that is coming out.
And I will mention there are 2 variants for Red Room this week, and the reason we don't have them is we separate our incentives, and they got put with the incentives because there always are. There always have been 1 in 5s, 1 in 10s. They're all open order this week. So I meant to grab
weird.
those.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, there are 2 variants for Red Room Trigger Warnings number 3. They're open order, so you should be able to find them at your local store, hopefully. But that is it.
Whew, it's a big week.
I know, and there are some others that came out, like for DC, I know Future State has a new one out. Batman Urban Legends has a new issue out. We do a lot of books. We do the ones we think people want to hear the most about, but there are some other ones that we don't get to. This show would just be way too crazy long. So thank you for watching. I forgot to mention at the beginning, but I'll say it now. Next week, I am actually taking a day off. And so I'm not leaving Andy to do all this on his own. We're going to have 1 week that we're not on. First week in I don't even know how long.
2 years, something like that.
Yeah. So we will not have a video next week. But don't worry, we will be back the week after. Stronger, better than ever.
Refreshed.
Refresh, yep. We'll keep it going for as long as you guys keep tuning in and watching. We just hit 1,600 subscribers. Thank you very much. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit subscribe. We will be on this Friday for Comics from the Future, but after that, I'm taking a little staycation.
Yeah, it's like a week off of videos.
Yep. So, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on Friday with Comics from the Future.